हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल द सोलफुल डायरी। आज के वीडियो में हम बात करेंगे इसमत चुगताई के वर्क छुई के बारे में। इसमत चुगताई के बारे में पहले हम एक वीडियो में डिस्कस कर चुके हैं, जिसका लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में, और जितने भी वीडियोस हमने डिस्कस किए हैं इसमत चुगताई के, वो उनका भी लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में है। चलिए शुरू करते हैं आज की वीडियो। चलिए अब स्टोरी को डिस्कस करते हैं। द नरेटिव begins with a scene of Bhabhi Jan being assisted by B. Muglani and Bhaijan as she struggles with her pregnancy. Despite her humble origins, Bhabhi Jan's marriage to Bhaijan catapults her into a world of luxury, yet her health begins to deteriorate with each miscarriage she endures. Giving birth to a male child is the only concern that Bhabhi Jan has in this family since she got married. Since her marriage, Bhabhi Jan is not allowed to do any work, and B. Muglani does all the work and takes care of everything. Being treated like this, Bhabhi Jan gained weight in just 2 years of her marriage. But after her two miscarriages, Bhabhi Jan gets scared by the thought that she won't give birth to a male heir of the family, and then her husband might get married for the second time for the same purpose. While Bhabhi Jan's mother-in-law and other family members fervently hope for a successful pregnancy, Bhaijan's interest wanes. The narrator P. Muglani and Ammi Jan are very much concerned regarding the health of Bhabhi Jan. They make all efforts so that Bhabhi Jan gives birth to a child safely without facing any complication. As Bhabhi Jan's pregnancies become increasingly precarious, the household is enveloped in superstition and rituals. Ammi Jan has consulted not just doctors but also fakirs and peers. When Bhabhi Jan gets pregnant for the time, then Ammi Jan and B. Muglani decide to take her by the train to Aligarh for her safe delivery. They book the entire compartment for themselves to make sure that nobody enters and disrupts Bhabhi Jan. They are scared that Bhabhi Jan might have miscarriage for the third time as well. On the train, they encounter a peasant woman in the throes of childbirth. The pregnant peasant woman enters forcibly into their compartment and delivers a child in front of them despite Ammi Jan and B. Muglani's resistance. Bhabhi Jan gets shocked and miscarries for the third time as well. The narrative reaches its climax with Bhabhi Jan's miscarriage, a devastating blow that shatters her hopes and dreams of securing her position within the household. As she grapples with the fear of her husband's potential second marriage, the young narrator's empathy for Bhabhi Jan deepens, and she confronts the harsh truth of women's vulnerability in a patriarchal society. The tale is set sometime before the partition in the subcontinent. The setting is that of an affluent Muslim household entrenched in and working towards fulfilling the norms of a society around, namely producing a male heir of the family. Society at that time believed in relegating women to the physical confines of the house, expecting them to never step out of the four walls and perform domestic labor. Although Bhabhi Jan is spared the tiring physical labor, given her privilege of being the lady of the house, it further serves to exemplify the prison like environment of the house, where she is expected to remain idle until she fulfills her assigned purposes of entertaining her husband or delivering an heir. Within Muslim society, these assigned burdens were considered to be the duties of a woman. As a result, a woman's worth, the purpose, was inextricably tied to what she could provide to a man and by extension his family. In essence, they limited her opportunities, social capital, standing, and means of survival to him. This complete socio-economic dependence was the driving mechanism through which the subjugation of women was perpetuated. Women are not allowed to access economic opportunities to maintain control. In order to secure their own survival, women are forced to cater to the patriarchal institutions. They lose autonomy over their own bodies, and their decisions are controlled by others. Even at the cost of her health and her desires, she is made to comply with checkups and processes. The commodification of women's body creates dehumanizing condition. Their territorial entitlement of the patriarchal system is shown. Her sexuality and sexual agency is at whim of her husband. Her mental agency is all so curtailed. Class divide and opportunities for women, paradoxical freedom, exploration and identification of patriarchal systems through the lens of the narrator. A vivid depiction of the episodes in Touch Me Not or Chui when Bhabichan is expecting a baby tells us the territorial entitlement that surrounds women's bodies, in which their bodies are seen as object sources for procreation. The social mores assigned to biological reproduction, dictated by the moral writs of patriarchal, disallow women to exercise their sexual agency and bodily autonomy. Female sexuality has been restricted to appeasing the whimsical desires of men. Though the young narrator does not outrightly condemn the family values that inhibit women, through her narration we see that she is sharply critical and aware of the injustices meted out to women, especially Bhabhi Jan in the household. Introduces to us the realities of women in a middle class Muslim household. In a description of the process of childbirth performed by the peasant woman, we see that the young narrator, in a way, mystifies and assigns a transcendental character to the process. Discrimination inflicted by B. Muglani onto the peasant woman, grounded in superstition and class caste prejudices, figuratives, and poetic language. Humor can indeed be seen as an oppositional discourse to gender norms and ideologies for several reasons. Critique of patriarchal institutions. Chughtai story provides a critical examination of patriarchal institutions such as marriage and family, revealing how they perpetuate oppression against women. Sub- Subversion of gendered expectation. The story challenges traditional gender roles and expectations placed on women within society. Intersectional analysis. Chughtai highlights how class difference intersect with gender to shape women's experience differently, shedding light on the additional challenges faced by marginalized women. Narration. The young narrator's empathetic understanding of Bhabhi Jan's struggle and her critical perspective on the injustices faced by women in her society contribute to the oppositional nature of the text. Language and imagery. Chughtai's use of figurative language such as metaphor of withering flowers and bare branches not only poetically captures the emotional and physical experiences of women but also challenges traditional narratives that objectify and dehumanize them. Characters. The primary characters are Bhabhi Jan, a young bride who is unable to conceive and tragically loses several pregnancies, and her family, including her husband Bhaijan and mother-in-law, who pressured her to produce a male heir. The story also features the narrator who witnesses and chronicles Bhabhi Jan's plight with empathy, and a beggar woman whose traumatic childbirth in the same train compartment intensifies Bhabhi Jan's stress and leads to a miscarriage. Bhabhi Jan, the bride, a young underage bride whose sole purpose is to give birth to a male heir for her husband's family. Her inability to do so results in repeated miscarriages and a life of sickness and loss of agency. The narrator, the young narrator of the story, observes Bhabhi Jan's suffering with empathy and understanding, validating her distress without pity or judgment. The beggar woman, a pregnant beggar woman who gives birth in the train compartment, creating a traumatic experience for Bhabhi Jan's sister-in-law and triggering a further miscarriage. Bhabhi Jan's husband, Bhaijan and family represent the oppressive patriarchal system, pressuring Bhabhi Jan to fulfill her duty of producing a male child to secure her position in the family and avoid the possibility of a second marriage. Themes. The primary themes are patriarchy's oppression of women, the societal commodification of women's body, the intersection of gender and class oppression, the suppression of female desire, and the yearning for human connection and agency within a restrictive domestic sphere. The story critiques the patriarchal pressures faced by women, particularly the demand for male hires, and the trauma caused by repeated miscarriages, highlighting how societal expectations strip women of autonomy and agency. Patriarchal oppression. The story is a stark portrayal of the patriarchal Muslim household where women are subjected to societal and familial pressures, particularly the need to produce a male heir. Commodification of women's bodies. Chui critiques how women's bodies are treated as objects valued only for their reproductive capacity, leading to physical and emotional trauma. Gender and class oppression. The narrative examines the compounded struggles faced by women who are simultaneously oppressed by patriarchal structures and class based exploitation, limiting their autonomy. Suppression of female desire. The story explores the way female sexuality and desire suppress within a patriarchal setting where women's physical and emotional needs are often ignored or punished, yearning for human connection. Through characters like Bhabijan, Chughtai illustrates the deep human need for affection and connection even as it is forced to be hidden or expressed in unconventional ways due to societal taboos. Struggle for agency. The story serves as an oppositional discourse challenging established gender norms and ideologies by highlighting the limited agency women possess and their fight against the oppressive social structures that confine them. Motifs. Uh, the central motifs include female agency and defiance, symbolized by their title itself and the protagonist sultanas, and willingness to conform to patriarchal expectations. Other key motifs are patriarchal oppression, which restricts women's bodies and desires, and the hypocrisy of societal norms, which allows male promiscuity while suppressing female sexuality. The story also explores themes of female sexuality and desire, challenging taboos surrounding these topics in the 1940s India. Female agency and defiance. The story's title, Touch Me Not or Chui Mui, is a metaphor for sultanas' resistance and unwillingness to be controlled or confined by others. Her character embodies a defiant spirit that challenges the gender roles imposed by the patriarchal society. Patriarchal oppression. Chughtai critiques the oppressive structure of the era, which confined women and denied them agency over their lives and bodies. Sultana's story highlights the restrictions faced by women under this patriarchal system. Societal hypocrisy. The narrative exposes the double standards prevalent in society, where women's sexuality was a taboo subject while male promiscuity was often overlooked or tolerated. Chughta's frank portrayal of female desire tears down layers of this hypocrisy. Female sexuality and desire. Chuimu is a bold and pioneering work in its frank discussion of female sexuality and desire. By giving voice to these often unspoken aspects of women's life, Chughtai pushes boundaries and offers a critical look at societal attitudes towards female desire. Challenging taboos. In a time when discussing topics like female sexuality, abortion, and women's rights were forbidden, Chughai's fearless writing tackled these taboo subjects with honesty. Chui contributes to this body of work that seeks to challenge traditional gender roles and expectations. Symbols. The key symbols are the train as a symbol of the journey to motherhood and the potential for a woman's self determination, and the contrasting female characters such as the mother to be and woman who defies norms, who represent different expressions of female desire, societal constraints, and personal liberty. The story uses to explore themes of female agency, the societal pressures on women to have children, and desire for a happy autonomous life, even if it means challenging traditional values. The train, a literal and metaphorical journey. The central setting, the train is a potent symbol for a woman's life path, uh, particularly the path to motherhood, the journey to motherhood. The story centers on the protagonist's desire to become pregnant, linking the train journey to her personal ambition for fulfillment through childbirth. Freedom versus confinement. The train can also represent a confined space, highlighting how women are often confined to societal roles, but the movement of the train also hints at the potential for escape and new experiences, contrasting characters. The protagonist, this character desires motherhood as a means of finding security, attention, and happiness in a patriarchal society where men often abandon women, the woman who defies norms. In contrast, another woman in the story dares to have a child on the train without wedlock. She embodies strength and willingness to live life on her own terms, offering an alternative vision of female agency. Broader societal implications. By contrasting these women, Chughtai exposes the pressures women face and the various, often conflicting ways they navigate societal expectations around marriage, motherhood, and their own existence. थैंक यू। आई होप आज की वीडियो आपको पसंद है। कैसी लगी हमें कमेंट से करके बताएं और हमें ये भी कमेंट करके बताएं कि आप आने वाले वीडियोस किस टॉपिक पर देखना चाहते हैं। और अगर कोई डाउट्स या सजेशंस है तो वो भी आप कमेंट सेक्शन में ड्रॉप कर सकते हैं। अगर वीडियो अच्छी लगी तो लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब टू माई चैनल। मिलते हैं कल एक और इन्फॉर्मेटिव वीडियो के साथ शाम 4 बजे। टिल देन कीप वॉचिंग एंड कीप सपोर्टिंग द सोलफुल डायरी। थैंक यू।